How's it going, Yankee fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Ryan Garcia, and we wanted to talk about Gleyber Torres. This guy has had a resurgent 2022 season. Last couple of years, a little bit down during the COVID era, and just battling some inconsistencies, not having that same success in the batter's box, and a lot of pressure on him at shortstop. And I think that kind of translated over to his offensive qualities and just a lot of pressure on him. I think it got into his head. And baseball's a very confidence-based game, right? Like you have to be on the top of your game. You have to be confident in yourself and what you're seeing in the batter's box and everything altogether, really. So, now that he's at second base again, really performing well, his numbers in the batter's box are exponentially better than they were the last two seasons. So I'm excited to kind of break down those numbers for you guys, what he's offering this team and why, I personally think he's a long-term solution at second base. Ryan might have a differing opinion, but that's all in good conversation. But before we dive into Gleyber Torres and all of his awesome stats, Ryan, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Yankees didn't pull off a win yesterday, but overall, series in Toronto, you take 2 out of 3. That's great. Gleyber had a monster series in Toronto. It's like every single time you need him to get a big hit and you need him to drive in a big run, Gleyber Torres is at the forefront of that. His power really has surprised me because it's not like, oh, he's hitting for power the way he did in 2019. He's barreling baseballs and hitting the ball harder than he ever did in his entire career. Whether the approach change he's made, it's been, whatever approach change he's made, it's been perfect for him. He's not striking out a lot, which is kind of weird because usually you trade off swings and misses for power. But he's managed to keep his contact rates. The only thing that's gone down his walk rate. But again, it's not like he was walking like crazy in 18 and 19 either. Overall, defensively as well. I mean, if you look at the defensive run save numbers, he has 7 defensive runs saved. That's in all of baseball, most all baseball players, tied for 10th, right? Like he's just looks great out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're looking at Gleyber Torres, like you said before, sometimes you have to trade statistics for others. And he's not getting on base as much as he has in the past, but he's hitting more homers again, and he's being more aggressive with the bat in his hand. So I think that ultimately is fueling a better offensive season for him. He has 13 homers this season so far, 32 RBIs, an 18.3% strikeout rate, which is actually below his career average at 21.3%. So that sample size of action is showing that he's hitting the ball better and he's seeing pitches better and he's hitting them hard, right? He has a 267 average, 314 OBP, and 524 slugging. The guy is just absolutely raking. But tell me a little bit about his hard hit numbers and why he's hitting the ball so well this season.
So if you look at his career hard hit rate, he has never had a season with a hard hit rate over 40%. His career high was in actually 2020, weirdly enough, at 38%. If you look at his exit velocity, it never climbed higher than 89.1 for a season, and that was in 2019. And his barrel rate never climbed higher than 9.4%. Now barrels are just like you have to hit the ball around 95 or more miles per hour, and you have to hit at a certain launch angle. It has to be like a line drive or a well-struck fly ball. You can't just hit a 95 mile per hour towering fly ball that's going to be a pop-up in the infield. It has to be really just a perfectly hit ball, essentially. And this year, his barrel rate's at a career high. It's almost at 12%. That's a 3% increase from his 2019 season. His hard hit rate is almost 50%. That's nearly a 12% increase from his 2020 season, which was his career best. His 92.5 mile per hour exit velocity is one of the best marks in all of baseball. This is the first time he's over that 90 mile per hour mark. He's also hitting a lot more fly balls. If you look at his fly ball rate, it's 51.8% compared to 42.7%, his career best in 2018. He is hitting the ball in the air. He's hitting the ball a lot harder. He's going the other way. He can pull the ball. He can do a lot of different things. His power is just phenomenal. If you look at isolated power, which is just your batting average subtracted, your batting average subtracted from slugging percentage, it's kind of an easy way to look at, how much power do you have? Because if you think about it, you can hit 300 with a 400 slugging percentage, but that's just because you're getting a lot of singles versus, 250 average with a 500 slugging percentage. You don't get on base as much, but when you do get on base, it's with a double or a home run or a triple, something of that sort. Gleyber's having a career best 257 isolated power. For context, 200, anything above 200 is very good. In 2019, he had a 256. So when it comes to hitting for extra base hits, he's hitting it at the same rate he was when the balls were juiced and everyone claimed him to be a juiced ball merchant. I could imagine that if the balls ever got juiced again, Gleyber might hit 50 home runs because his power is just so much better. Like he's just a far better player than he was before in terms of making quality contact. I don't know what the swing path change was, but there definitely had to have been one. Whatever Dylan Lawson worked with Gleyber Torres, it's been absolutely clicking because he just looks polished up there. And it looks like it happens in big spots. And he's always been a big time, big situation, high leverage postseason hitter. But if you look at specifically this year in terms of win probability added, which looks at, leverage, right? Like if you're getting a home run, but you're up 8, it's not going to really go up much. But if you're hitting a home run to break a tie or to walk off a game, it goes up a lot. He is in the top 35 in win probability added, despite really not starting consistently full time until the last 2 months. That's remarkable, right? Like he's hitting for power, new approach. He hits for power in big situations. He is kind of the perfect 3-hitter in a sense because or 4-hitter or 5-hitter, wherever you want to put him in the middle of that lineup. Because the Yankees have a lot of guys who are very good at working walks, but aren't going to be too aggressive in the strike zone. And Gleyber's a different guy in that sense. He has a different approach from the Judge, Stanton, Rizzo kind of thing going on there. And while those 3 guys, their approach is obviously phenomenal, Gleyber's approach is also phenomenal for different reasons. And so I think that kind of variation, that change in tempo or change in pace means that pitchers are going to get, ambushed by Gleyber Torres early in counts, and it could cost them when they walk a guy like Judge to try to face guys later down the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, also you're just looking at where he's hitting the baseball, and he's hitting it everywhere. His spray chart, I mean, it looks like an abstract art, right? And that's the best thing about what he's doing so far this season is like he's not just pulling balls to left field, he's slapping homers to right field. He actually has almost more homers to right, and he has a couple of doubles that have reached like 395 feet and just hitting off the wall. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles off the wall in left field and 3 doubles off the wall in right field. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 homers in left field and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7 homers in right field. So he's slapping a lot of oppos. And I think that is exactly what the Yankees wanted for Yankee Stadium, which is huge because that short right porch, you always want to take advantage of that at your home stadium, your home field. And Torres is doing such a great job of doing that. Exactly. So, so far it seems like the team is really, really happy with him. Aaron Boone said, man, it's really good. What he's doing at the plate, more just great at bats. Even yesterday against Romano in the 9th inning there, he had a pretty damn good swing. He like just missed it and flew out. But he's swinging the bat extremely well. Like any moment he could hit a home run, any single moment. He's got the power, the contact. But I also do want to mention his defense, right? His defense is taking a big step forward at second base. Now I know you said he doesn't really start at everyday clip, but I will say that when he's out there, he's not a liability anymore. He has 3 errors this season, over like 530 innings at second base, I think. So 446.1 innings at second base, only 3 errors, 84 putouts, 19 double plays, and he has a 985 fielding percentage. So far he's not a liability at all, which is great. And then, Boone also said that he's comfortable moving him to shortstop if need be, if they're in a pinch. Like IKF was, sat yesterday because of the left hamstring tightness. But overall, Torres can kind of fill in when need be. He's not an everyday starter there, but I do really like what he's been doing at second base, and I think he is a long-term solution at the position moving forward, at the very least. What are you thinking about him on defense?
On defense, look, if you look at defensive runs saved, he has 7 again. That's tied for the top 10 in all of baseball, regardless of position, which is phenomenal to think about. I know outs above average has him at -2 outs above average, but UZR, ultimate zone rating, also thinks he's a good defender. And when you have those are kind of like the big 3 of defensive metrics. When 2 of the 3 say he's a good defender and one of the 3 says he's not, I'm going to side with he's a good defender because defensive metrics are kind of fickle, right? They're kind of the most, they're kind of the ones we have the least amount of data on in comparison to other, offensive or pitching metrics. He just looks sharper out there, right? He looks like he's going to make plays. I have confidence that he's not going to cost us in a big spot defensively. And I think the biggest thing with Gleyber defensively is he's playing his natural position and he's not being asked. Like I know yesterday he played shortstop in the 9th inning there, which is fine, right? Like that's totally fine with me. But he's not being asked to be the starting shortstop. He's not being asked to do something he can't do or something that he's not supposed to be doing. And I think that's kind of something the Yankees have done all year with their players, where they're not asking guys to play where they shouldn't be playing the way they were last year. Remember, last year, our shortstop was Gio Urshela, right? Our third baseman at times was Rougned Odor. Our first baseman was LeMahieu. And I'm not saying LeMahieu's a bad defensive first baseman, but you'd much rather have him at second or third where he can provide a little more value. Or you had, Frazier playing the outfield, and he's just not an outfielder. I don't know what he is defensively. Or Andujar playing the outfield. It's like, you can't win baseball games with guys not where they should be, with guys out of their positions. And the Yankees have kind of figured out the defensive alignment, putting Judge in center field full time, having Hicks in the corner outfield instead of center field, where you can kind of just have him rely more on his arm and less on his range, where he's not as rangy as he was before. Asking Gleyber to play second base, with his newfound kind of confidence and going on and making plays, keeping LeMahieu at second and third for the most part, and sometimes at first, right? It's Gleyber thrives when he's playing where he should be playing. Clearly, it's a confidence thing. It was a mental thing this entire time, which is good to see because we can kind of you can change things to help him get a better mindset. And I'm just proud of Gleyber for making that change, because he could have very easily not have made that change, go out and get traded somewhere else. And when he does make that change somewhere else, say, "Oh, it was New York." He didn't do that. He went out and actively made the changes he needed to make, and now he's an integral, not just like a good player. He's an integral part of the team that has very clearly been shown to be the best team in baseball this year, and very clearly has the best World Series odds. So, couldn't be more proud of the guy. And, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see him get an all-star nod. I want him to get into the all-star game. I think that's huge for him, for his confidence. It would really be disappointing to see him put up these monster numbers and not get in. And yeah, let me know what you think, though.
I mean, yeah, he's making a crazy offensive push in the month of June. I mean, he started off in April hitting 237 with a 277 on base rate. Now, you fast forward to June, he's hitting 320 with almost a 40% on base rate and a 680 slugging. So, he has 4 homers this year, this month with 8 RBIs. He's only struck out 10 times, over 50 at bats. I mean, the guy is raking right now. Like if there's any time for him to be making a move for an all-star nod, like, it's right now. And he's doing a tremendous job of getting his bat on the ball, and just getting on base too. Like, he's unstoppable. Like yesterday, he had 3 hits and 3 RBIs and a homer. What more can you do for the team? It's just offensively, he is just at the top of his game. He may have never, honestly, like, you look back at 2019, that was his best season, where he had 38 homers or whatever it was. And like, this stretch of game right now where he's getting on base at this clip too, some of the best baseball he's ever played. And that's kind of why, like, if he can continue at this pace, he continues to see the ball like this. And you look at like what he's actually hitting. He's doing a really good job against fastballs and breaking balls, which is like really, really nice to see. Like, I think he's hitting, let's see here if I can find it. I know against fastballs, he's hitting like 0.3, or not 0.3 rather. I keep doing that. 304 maybe. So he's hitting 342 against breaking balls and 255 against fastballs. With 10 homers against fastballs, and 27 total hits. Breaking balls, he's just killing it this year, man. Like, people are throwing breaking balls 7% more than they were last year to him, and he's hitting them even better. I don't know what they're thinking, but it seems like he's just hitting everything really, really well. So it's really nice to see that he's kind of like seeing the ball, like, just whether it's slow, fast, or any velocity.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this a couple times on the podcast, but if you look at his weighted on base average, which is WOBA, that's accounts for on base slugging. It kind of weighs all those things together. You scale it like on base, like a 400 is phenomenal. 300 isn't great. You wouldn't want to have a 300 on base. It's not like average, where like average 300 is really good. 400 is like, unprecedented. This year he's at a 343 WOBA, which is well above average, right? Like, that's really good, especially considering, how baseballs are kind of being dead this year. That's on pitches 95 or more miles per hour. Last year he had a 276 WOBA. That's like going from, being Andrew Velasquez at the dish to, I mean, I guess you would say like 2022 Gleyber Torres. So that's a massive jump in, he doesn't get beat by high velocity. And especially tonight, Shane McClanahan's going. I'm very confident Gleyber Torres can hit against Shane McClanahan, which is something that if you told me last year, like, hey, you're going to be really confident with Gleyber Torres against really high velocity and elite pitching, I'd be like, no, I'm not confident in that. He's going to, like, 95 would go right by him, or he'll pop it up, or he just won't have a good at bat. We saw it with Gary last year. He struggled against high velocity, especially up in the zone. Like, that was a real big struggle for him. He never got to kind of fix that in New York. I think in Minnesota, he's, kind of picking up pace a little bit. But for Gleyber here, right, he's completely turned that around. He's like, you know what? You're going to give me 95. I'll take that the other way, or I'll pull that. I'll jump on your fastball 95 plus. And that's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like his MO this year, though, just like seeing pitches well, no matter that's velocity, break, and he's hitting them all equally as well. So that's really exciting. Hopefully he can continue this, get an all-star nod, really leverage that into a phenomenal second half of the season. He's already on pace for over 25 homers. So his power is back. He's hitting the ball extremely well. He's slapping it opposite field altogether. Really impressed with this resurgent season he's having. And, hopefully he can finish it off strong and really show us that he's a long-term solution at second base here, guys. But always happy to hear your comments below in the YouTube section. Make sure to drop your likes and subscriptions as well. Gleyber Torres, really exciting. Would really love to hear just your narrative about him, what you're thinking about him, if you feel he's a long-term solution. Always love to have this community building process here. So much love for that as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.